Welcome to The Backstory, a podcast from the North Dakota News Cooperative that takes an in-depth look at the stories we're reporting for you. I'm Sabrina Halvorson, CEO of the North Dakota News Cooperative. Joining me is Michael Standaert, our lead reporter. So Michael, we're talking today about the latest story, which is titled Trump Trade Wars Add Stress to North Dakota's $41 billion ag economy. You really went in deep looking at how the trade wars that President Donald Trump is bringing to the nation can be affecting North Dakota's agricultural economy. And you talked to a few farmers for this story. What were some things that you really looked for as you were starting to report on this issue?
Basically, I just wanted to get a better idea of how people think the state will be impacted. It's unclear now because the Canada tariffs and the Mexico tariffs have been postponed. But even that has triggered concerns and just uncertainty. I think that's the main thing that came through in speaking with a lot of people, is just the uncertainty about what's going to happen. The other part of that is with all these kind of back and forth possible trade tariffs, there's a concern about how this will impact long-term prospects with those trading partners.
One of the people who you talked to is Mark Watney, who is the president of the North Dakota Farmers Union. And you have quite a few quotes from him in the article, but I wanted to ask you as the reporter, what is it that we can't read in the story? What were some of the feelings that you were getting from him as you were speaking?
He was pretty open about his thoughts in the situation. He was a bit more concerned, I think, than most people that I had spoken with, and pretty outspoken about it. So there wasn't a lot of other feeling in kind of what I was getting from him other than what he did say in his quotes. Other people are a little bit more cautious. I know Daryl Lees from the Farm Bureau was a bit more cautious on how he thought the impacts would be felt. He was more taking a wait and see attitude on that, and also thought that some of the actions from the Trump administration to address non-tariff trade barriers and these other trade barriers with Canada and Mexico needed to be addressed as well.
And what about the Ag Commissioner? You also talked with Doug Goring, who is the North Dakota State Agricultural Commissioner. What were you getting from him?
I was actually surprised. He seems to be a bit more concerned than I thought he would portray it. He was talking about how big of a market Canada is alone. I mean, $4 billion in agricultural products traded just with Canada and North Dakota. That's pretty significant. And he was also the one who brought up that. So the USDA official tracked data shows about $5.4 billion in agricultural exports from North Dakota. But there's another $7 billion that is not always easily tracked in the trade data. And it's because it's spread around through a lot of different pieces of the economy. So it's harder to track that. But he's the one who brought that up, that this could be impacted as well.
One of the things that is mentioned in the story briefly was a reaction from Agriculture Commissioner Goring from the social media post. I think it was on Truth Social, where Donald Trump posted that American farmers should be preparing to supply more domestically or to sell more domestically. And I think he ended that post with the words, "have fun." And so Commissioner Goring addressed that briefly in here, but what was it that he said?
That was an interesting reaction. It sounds fine and dandy, except if you realize that we're a country with a surplus. He didn't think that was really an option to shift just to domestic consumption of our agricultural products. All of these trade relationships have been deeply developed over the last 30, 40, 50 years. So that's not something you can just shut off or turn around so quickly.
I want to bring it back to something that you were talking about a little bit as well with Daryl Lees. He says that there needs to be a fix. Does he think that we're on the right path to this fix?
He seemed to want to give the tariffs time or negotiations time to have some kind of impact on these trade barriers, whether it's some kind of internal restrictions or quotas or non-tariff trade barriers.
That again, reporter Michael Standaert on the North Dakota News Cooperative story. Trump trade wars add stress to North Dakota's $41 billion ag economy. You can read that story on our website at newscoopnd.org or in one of our local newspaper partners. For the North Dakota News Cooperative, I'm Sabrina Halvorson. This has been The Backstory.